Just to skip a drive and relax with the New York Times or a good novel. That's not what I wanted to do this morning. Perhaps there are some folks from our church making that choice right now. And certainly there are lots of folks, for whatever reason, can't see the value of religion in their lives. You folks, however, you choose religion. In free choice and with no creedal obligation, you choose to gather, and in doing so, affirm the importance, even the necessity of community. Religion has been defined as a binding together, like our Puritan ancestors who covenanted to bind themselves and to walk together. We make such a choice. But I would say that we are already bound together. We are always, already part of the interdependent web of all life. And thus, religion does not so much bind us as to help us to reveal the values that we share. They're bonds of compassion, bonds of companionship, bonds of community. We are all of us bound up with the passions that ignite our spirits to actions toward justice. We are all of us bound up with the bread of life, the desire for shared hospitality. And we are all of us bound up with unity, in agreement, and with a shared sense that we are in this life together and we ought to act to make that fabric of connection strong and sustaining. And so why are we here this morning? Why have we come to church? We come for religion. Now I realize some of you chafe at that word. I used to feel that way myself. Maybe you see yourself as spiritual or as ethical rather than as religious. I get that. I understand. And yet, it is a religious response to life that calls us again and again into this sustaining community. We do not have to be here, and yet we are. Rather than quibble over the names of things, let us now celebrate our religious affiliation, our vision of hearts healed in community, and our community building our strength for the hard work of doing justice in the wider world. And so let us now enter a time of reflection, meditation, and prayer. I know it feels like summer, that I'm using these words adapted from Autumnal Equinox by Chris Van Cleef. The summer yields to the autumn winds blowing, while the cool burns the leaves to golden red. We harvest fields we planted once knowing, grains of truth to a head soon would come. Mysterious healing, like a hand on my brow, I bow into greater love. aging dreams seem hard to remember, alluring sleep ever taking its toll. Love redeems like the snows of December, as the infinite soul, pure and deep. Mysterious healing like a hand on my brow, I bow into greater love. To meadowlands of our souls flowering, we return from the roots we've sprung. To understand love we know is empowering, where truth is strong with love we learn. Mysterious healing, like a hand on my brow, I bow to a greater love. Spirit of life and love, God of our own understanding, God simply a word for that larger reality to which we all belong. We pray for solace in terrifying times. Our world is so full of fearsome events, so-called natural disasters amplified by the way we have lived on and used our Mother Earth. Political bombast spewed as if words do not have effects, as if words do not matter. Personal calamity, dire and achingly painful in itself, also reminding us of past tragedies and the dread of future ones. Here we gather in community, here we turn to each other, a physical sign that we are not alone, we need not be alone, sit alone, sorrow alone. Our community sustains us in the sorrow, always part of the fabric of living. Our community sustains us in our fear and our trauma. May our gathered presence uphold each of us as life casts lengthening shadows, as life draws us into a time of quiet and reflection in this season and in this hour. It is good to be among you, friends. Good to be in a sustaining and life-giving community. Our service today falls between two major holidays in the Jewish tradition, Rosh Hashanah on September 21st, the New Year, and Yom Kippur on September 30th, the Day of Atonement. Rosh Hashanah is a celebration of the beginning of a new year, the beginning of creation, the beginning of a people bound together in a special and life-giving history. I think here, even if we're not Jewish, we can identify with that feeling. And Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, the day of asking and hopefully receiving divine forgiveness. Those who follow this tradition believe that on Rosh Hashanah, God writes in the book of life a person's fate for the year. And on Yom Kippur, God seals the words for the year. In between are the days of awe, when people reflect on their lives, how they have lived and want to live, and how they might influence God to see their efforts to make amends and ask forgiveness of friends and family, to be at one with those in their lives, so when the words are sealed, the year might be a blessed one. A friend of mine who follows the Jewish tradition posted the following prayer on Facebook yesterday. To those I have wronged, I ask forgiveness. To those I have helped, I wish I did more. To those I neglected, I ask for understanding. To those who have helped me, I sincerely thank you. This is a good prayer, a good reflection or meditation, if you prefer, for any new beginning, any time when you want your intentions to be good and sustainable, worthy of effort, and approached with humility. Let's imagine that we are in a time of awe, a Unitarian Universalist version, a Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua version. Let us place ourselves into a time of reflecting on our path forward and wanting it to be a path upon which we can worthily and humbly walk together. And so I say again, it is good to be among you, friends, good to be in a sustaining, a life-giving community. For this, there is so much for which to be grateful. And I hope you realize that this is a sustaining community, a community that has weathered adversity, a community that has withstood divisiveness within ministry change and ministry fail, a community that nourishes body, mind, and spirit with love and intention. And the list goes on, it really does. A community that continues to thrive even though your future remains veiled. And regular church life continues to reside on shaky ground. A community where your leadership has much work to do and finds itself taxed to near capacity and perhaps beyond. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. I recognized this as a sustaining community when I preached here in May of 2016, before my internship began officially. We had a special congregational meeting that day to talk about the charrette and the necessity to alter plans for the building from expansion to renovation. I saw disappointment, I saw confusion, and I saw resilience. Here is the reality. What are we going to do about it? Not too much moaning, not too much hand-wringing, not too much finger-pointing. You are a community of human beings, not superheroes, so there was a little of all three. But as a community, you pressed on. You picked up the pieces and your capital campaign treasure chest, and you arranged those pieces using your treasure the best way they could be arranged. You trusted your leaders to make responsible decisions, and you supported those decisions. That is the way church should work, and this church works. You sit in the midst of leaders ready to take on the next challenge of this church community. You sit in the midst of the resilience of this church community. And as you steps forward, it has a big task ahead of it, preparing for, taking the first steps toward your next relationship with a minister. I see you do this within a sustaining community of love and intention. I recognized this as a sustaining community when I witnessed the second potluck of my first internship year in October of 2016. The first potluck was on the same day as in-gathering, and I was too tired and too frazzled to notice much of anything after that service that I had arranged with Bill Mells and Kathy Keller. Me with all my ideas rushing ahead, and them with their deep knowledge of church culture and church community reeling me back ever so slightly, ever so gently. Another form of sustaining community. I loved doing that service, and I was ready to flee back to Buffalo after it, which I might have done. So it was the October potluck where I witnessed sustaining community. No sooner had the service ended, no sooner had we joined hands, no sooner had we recited from memory, everyone except me, our affirmation of love, compassion, and commitment. No sooner had we extinguished the chalice, no sooner than all of this, and people flew into action. The hymnals collected and reshelved. The chairs rolled and rearranged. The tables unfolded and erected. Food appeared from fridge and oven and microwave, plates and silverware from cupboards and drawers. Quickly, efficiently, many hands making light work, moving toward a common meal. Every dish prepared singly, all dishes shared mutually. People clustered together at tables. No one left to sit alone. Families not always sitting together, a sign I hoped, not of division, but of spending time with folks you see less often than your children and your spouse. And at the end of the meal, everything unwound in reverse, with one volunteer doing a final office for the community, running the vacuum cleaner. I still marvel every month when I witness the sanctuary transformed into parish hall, both equally sacred and holy. These are just two and a half examples of the sustaining community of this congregation, a church characterized by hope and faith, by hospitality and welcome. When I am away from you, I think with joy upon my experience and my witness of your warmth and commitment. And when I am with you, I feel joy in the opportunity to serve and learn among you. That's the good news. You've got good bones. You've got the right stuff. I hope you can find yourself within this portrait that I painted. Yet you are an intelligent people. You are smart, and you have come to know me and the little language games I can't resist. And so, I start to play with your words. Yours is a sustaining community, and the words beg the question. How will this community be sustained? What will be necessary for sustaining this community as it is and as it might be? What acts will you take in order to sustain this community now and in its unfolding future? Some of you know that I am a great fan of the 18th century poet William Blake, who was an artist and a religious mystic. And when I try to understand how I became a religious person, I wander backward to my first discovery of Blake when I was 19 years old. If you don't know Blake, I would encourage you to Google him, and I would start with images rather than words. You will find much of reward there. Blake was a printer, and he created astounding and challenging art from the limitations of the artisan medium to which he was apprenticed. In May 1793, Blake self-published a little woodblock book of aphorisms called The Gates of Paradise. The book was purportedly for children, though there is some question in the scholarship what Blake imagined children and childhood to be. I read Blake to my children and they cried. I stopped doing it after they cried. Except for this. Image number 9 is tall and elongated, very dark in shading as it is a night scene. A very small person holds a very long ladder up to the slightest sliver of a crescent moon. And the caption reads, I want, with 2 exclamation points. When my children were young and asking for things, either incessantly, as children will, or for things they could not have, I would respond in my whiniest voice, I want. Boy, did they hate that. But they knew immediately what I was saying, which was stop saying that. Now, most of you probably don't know that I am not at all a fan of the rock and roll group, the Rolling Stones. I never liked them, but I do like one particular song. When I was an associate dean, working with first-year students and their parents to help them select required courses, I often encountered resistance. But I want to take a course in my major. I want to take psychology, not anthropology. I definitely don't want a math class. This whining, all despite the fact that the college was known to have a poor curriculum and they would have to take required gen ed. And I would repeat to them in as kindly a tone of voice as I could muster, not at all whining. You can't always get what you want. But if you try, you might just find you get what you need. I confess, last week at the workshop, some of you were there, I confess, I heard a lot of I want during the congregational workshop last week. Certainly it was part of the nature of the workshop. What future ministry do you imagine for yourselves? How do you want a future minister to spend their time? How do you want a minister not to spend their time? What church do you want to be in the future? The workshop invited you to imagine, to dream. But desires, like dreams at night, they come unbidden, and sometimes out of nowhere, unrooted and even a little foolish, like that small man chasing the sliver of the moon. Now, please do not understand me. Please do understand me. Please do not misunderstand me. Dreams are the way to reality, as long as you consider all that must be done in order to reach a goal, to fulfill a desire. What I encourage you to think about, each and every one, is what will you do to get what you want for this community? What will you do to get what you want for this community? I ask this question in many different contexts of my life, as I am sure you do as well. I want to be a good parent to my adult children. What will I do to help them grow into themselves? Part of what I do is talk less and listen more. I want to be a good partner to my husband. What will I do in order to be a good partner? Part of what I do is exercising patience when he wants to recount to me all that he ate today. Food is very important to him. I want to be a better colleague to the many ministers who support me as I grow into my calling. What will I do to be a better colleague? Part of what I do is send texts and emails to check in with them during challenging parts of their ministries, just letting them know I am thinking of them. I want to be a physically healthier person. What will I do to increase my health? Part of what I do is to take myself to the gym, to the stationary bike and the trainer, at least 3 times a week. I want to be a better citizen. What will I do to be a better citizen? Part of what I do is support financially newcomers seeking political office. I ask, what will I do in many aspects of my life? And I believe you ask yourselves that question also in many aspects of your life as parents, partners, friends, colleagues, citizens, and valuable individuals in your own right. You ask this question as a sign of love and commitment. Are you asking it of yourself as a member of this congregation, this sustaining community, in order to sustain the community? And if you wonder what is needed of you, what is required, simply think back to what you said at the workshop last week. What did you want? What will you do to get it? What were you calling yourself to do? And if you don't have an answer there, or you weren't there, just look around. As one example, the religious education program again is challenged. No one is to blame. But do you want it? What will you do to make it happen? And if that doesn't call you, listen to your leaders. Your board of trustees, elected by you and trusted by you to set a good direction for this community, they're asking you to get engaged, to help with everything from decorating the sanctuary to reorganizing the basement, to strengthening our welcome to each other and to newcomers, to improving our communication platforms, to being part of the ministerial search committee, or at least weighing in on who you think should be on there, to engaging and in continuous ways in social justice action. If you want a sustaining community, you will have to do the work of sustaining the community. There is no one but you, all of you, all of us, in this community of love and justice. So what will you do to get the community of your desires, of your dreams, of your imagination? Will you promise to do something sustaining for community, something to ensure that this sustaining community remains strong now and lives on long into the future, peopled by all those beautiful children right now in the basement? Rabindranath Tagore wrote, You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. Can I ask you, friends, can we cross the water together? Can you use this time as if it is the days of awe to shape the future you desire? Can you heed the call of your leaders and your community? Can you promise that you will try to do this today and every day as you remember that this community sustains you? As you remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you are welcome, and you are needed. May you feel it so.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.